In the Mortal Kombat setting, Edenia is one of 6 major realms the story focuses on. Perhaps even one of 4, since 2 of the realms barely ever got any development. It's a world teeming with life and beauty and magic, and its people are long-lived, fair-looking, and powerful. This is a realm that, sadly, got amalgamated with Outworld in MK12, so if that's the only Mortal Kombat game you've played, you might not even know that Edenia is a thing in other games. And it's a shame because a lot of things happen in Edenia throughout the series, yet we never really learn much of anything about the realm itself. Partly because by the time we're introduced to it, it's already been merged with Outworld as a sort of vassal realm, its people subjugated by Shao Kahn. Edenians are the resident, wise, powerful, and long-lived people trope of Mortal Kombat, a rough equivalent to the Tolkien elves of Middle-earth, among other examples. Edenians can be seen as the firstborn of the realms, the descendants of gods, and the people with the longest histories and greatest virtues. Unlike Earthrealm or Outworld, or even the Netherrealm, Edenia has not known much strife, hardship, war, or even death. This imbues its people with all the strengths and weaknesses that you'd expect. They are proud, prosperous, powerful, culturally enriched, and do not relate well to any of the peoples and cultures of the other realms. Edenia suffers from what I like to call talented sibling syndrome. It's like that one brother, sister, or friend who is very talented but very lazy and clueless as a result. This Paradise Realm is exactly that compared to something like Earthrealm. Yes, I'm making Earthrealm the underdog here. Earthrealm, also known as Protagonist Realm, is usually depicted as a prodigy world producing some of the best fighters in the series, the only realm to survive against Outworld, blah blah. And I did say in a previous video that Earthrealm may be the biggest chunk of the 6 realms, so it makes sense that it would be some kind of powerful, true, and they're also technologically evolved, but considering how short-lived they are and the fact that they don't have any magic or connection with the gods are serious handicaps. Not to mention all the war and violence and death and destruction and pineapple on pizza and other atrocities that they like to do to each other. So it's actually closer to Outworld than to Edenia in this regard. Edenia is the firstborn, the lucky birth. Earthrealm is sort of the middle child that's still got a lot of potential but is mired in self-doubt, self-sabotage, and being the middle child, which can sometimes suck. You're neither the eldest nor the youngest, so your parents kind of forget you exist. Earthrealm really should be called Now, of course, by the start of the series, Edenia is already conquered by Outworld, so Earthrealm is very much getting all the attention all of a sudden, all of it bad, as it becomes the de facto big brother and the only one that can stem the tide of conquest. But back to Edenia. In a twist of irony, being the talented, enlightened realm of plenty is what allowed Edenia to be conquered. Despite having the best warriors, the most powerful elemental and magic users, and the most developed culture, Edenia has probably only known peace for most of its lifespan. Earthrealm, Outworld, and the Netherrealm are all much better acquainted with war, suffering, and hardship. This, again, mimics talented people in real life who, despite their talents, because of their talents, don't try very hard in life. Everything came easy to them as children, so they never developed that muscle for struggling, grinding, and working hard, persevering against all odds through the skin of your teeth. Their early experiences taught them that life is and should be easy, which is of course not the case, and at the highest echelons of status and prestige lie not the most talented nor the most hardworking, but the most hardworking who also happen to be talented as well. But barring that third category, the hard worker will often end up overtaking the talented, because a strong work ethic pays dividends and compounds over time, whereas talent slowly begins to not be enough once you get closer and closer to the big leagues. And so, in a morbid twist of irony, the shining jewel of the realms became a vassal and a next to Outworld, a barren realm that relied not on culture, enlightenment, or an abundance of resources, but on scarcity, conquest, brutal efficiency. It is the do-or-die realm where its denizens are forced to rise up as highly effective killing machines or fall under the boot of their merciless ruler. It is no coincidence that Edenia was prioritized over any of the other major realms. A prudent ruler with common sense might start with some of the less powerful ones and then conquer what would presumably be the most difficult one to assault. But a savvy ruler knows everything I just discussed. He knows that prolonged peace and prosperity has made Edenia lazy, complacent, and witless. And so Shao Kahn struck there first, and with Edenia absorbed, none of the other realms could hope to match Outworld in terms of raw strength. Edenians are similar to the Asari from Mass Effect. In those games, the Asari are, once again, the longest-lived, the most potent biotics, which is, for all intents and purposes, magic. They have the most developed society and culture. They're kinda like Tolkien elves from Lord of the Rings, same deal. And that's because the Asari inherited a lot of advanced technology from the precursor race, the highly advanced civilization that predated them. Their society is built on the ashes of that ancient race's empire, and so they dwarf all other races in the galaxy in terms of military strength, societal advancement, and political status because of that head start. It's the same thing in the case of Edenia and the other realms. Edenia inherited the best, most fertile, and hospitable part of the original world after it got split into the 6 realms. One of the reasons why people age is because of the deadly environment life around here evolved in. From single-celled organisms all the way to primitive man, there were a million things around that could and did kill you. So life prioritized reproduction over longevity. It evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to become very good at passing genes and then dying. Reproducing, then dying. Until modern times, it never had the luxury of prioritizing longevity and staving off aging, and it would take a similarly astronomical amount of time to get good at that naturally. And that's exactly the kind of time that Edenian life had. Because of an acute lack of natural predators, humanoid life flourished on Edenia. And over the course of hundreds of thousands of years, Edenians evolved to have very long lifespans and very few offspring, as there was simply no need to reproduce that often. And as you would imagine, living for tens of thousands of years means you become ungodly proficient at whatever craft you choose to specialize in, including martial training and elemental ability, which is why Edenians tend to be really good at that sort of thing. Whirlwinds, sonic blasts, storms, and weather manipulation, as well as mastery of multiple elements. Edenians are synonymous with raw power. In addition to that, the 6 realms are also loosely structured into pairs and opposites. Order and chaos. Earth realm and outworld, the former a diverse collection of climates and land masses, forests, mountainous regions, deserts, islands, while the latter is just barren, windswept badlands. And that leaves us with Edenia and the nether realm, a dichotomy of life and death. If the Netherrealm is a place of death, decay, and constant change, then it's no wonder that Edenia would be a beacon of life, longevity, and a place almost completely exempt from death. It's also then perhaps no coincidence that Mortal Kombat Armageddon has Edenia as its main setting, not Outworld, not the Netherrealm, not even Earthrealm. Events are of course kicked off by an Edenian god in that game, so that makes sense, but maybe Edenia is the home of the gods in general. Would make sense. Now there are of course protector gods and minor gods spread across all major realms, but if we were to choose a primary seat of power, Edenia, the lush paradise standing in firm opposition to the raging hells of the Netherrealm, is the most likely candidate. Not to mention that, once again, the Edenians are said to be direct descendants of the gods, which further explains their impressive power and longevity. I've filled in many blanks about Edenian culture in the past, chiefly the scant, or let's say over-minimalist dress code that makes it seem like fabric is in short supply in paradise. But given the likely warm climate of this lush garden world, as well as the proud, shameless, and non-prejudiced culture, it only makes sense. Edenia is also a direct reference to the Garden of Eden from Christian mythology, a paradise where people walk around naked, free, and completely gullible and ignorant of the darkness and horror of knowledge. Speaking of gullible, another trait we can infer about Edenian society is a general disdain towards anything remotely devious or unforthright. Most Edenians we meet are straight talkers, and they expect to be treated with the same level of fair play. Three things are birthed from this: a stalwart sense of honor, an underdeveloped sense of humor, sometimes completely absent, and finally, unbearable naivete. And it makes sense. Hardship builds many useful traits, chief among them a sense of humor. A people that has known little to no hardship would have no need for it. This makes Edenians extremely easy to lie to. Much like the Tontata tribe from One Piece, they take everything at face value until you reveal that you lied to them or were just joking, then they feel betrayed, then go back to unironically believing the very next thing you say, which, coincidentally, is a trait plenty of women possess to varying degrees. It's the reason why con men are a thing, and why many women have trouble separating the truth from lies. It's almost like some of them are primed to be deceived. Like the great Idris Elba once said, women fall in love with what they hear, men fall in love with what they see. So women wear makeup and men lie. I think gullibility is a most fitting trait for a most feminine kingdom. It also goes a long way towards explaining why Edenia keeps getting conquered, and why Edenians like Tanya and Rain are branded as outcasts, deviants, and traitors. For their actions, of course, but also for deviating from the cultural norm as deceivers. Deception, cheating, humor, and shame are all embodied in the proverbial tree of knowledge of good and evil that corrupt and cast you out of Eden once learned. This naivete also extends to Edenia's original ruler, Jared, and it likely played a considerable part in the realm's initial defeat at the hands of Outworld. And very tellingly, after over a dozen titles, we still have next to no information on Jared, what his rule was like, and what sort of physical or elemental prowess he displayed. And that goes double for Edenia's protector god, Argus. By all accounts, they are both witless, impotent leaders that allowed the realm to fall and Armageddon to happen. I think it's no coincidence that neither have displayed any elemental abilities. It's likely that they have no elemental ability, a symbol of their impotence as leaders. Thus, Edenia becomes both a condemnation and commendation of men. It is the ruthlessness and incompetence of man that spoiled the Garden of Paradise. But concurrently, it is also a statement on the necessity of man to protect it. For even after winning its independence from Outworld and consolidating itself into a matriarchy, Edenia continued to fall time and again, to Shinnok, to Onaga, to itself. Despite its raw strength, Edenia lacks the protection of a strong, benevolent, masculine ruler, and it shows. All of this is represented at the individual, personal level by men and women. Women tend to thrive when they're allowed to retain at least part of their innocence, the childish nature that they're born with, that we're all born with, whereas men tend to shine through maturity, through continual change, refinement, gradually turning the boy into a man, and facing more and more of the horror of the world. The two complement each other. Women, like Edenians, have great raw potential, but that potential often gets wasted without the protection, discipline, and structure that men can provide. Likewise, men accomplish great things, but they're prone to self-sabotage and to substituting great with terrifying, unless they're tempered by the compassion, acceptance, and youthful spirit of women. Thank you for watching, and if you like this kind of talk, feel free to visit my Discord, which is all about this kind of talk. Link in the description. Special thanks to Serhi Hrishin and Longthorn Henderson, as well as my other members for supporting the channel.